Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Donald Trump says US launches deadly strike against Islamic State terrorists in northwest Nigeria, accuses ISIS of viciously killing innocent Christians. US confirms Nigerian government support for the strikes. Zelenskyy speaks with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Talks focus on ending Russia-Ukraine conflict. Zelenskyy hails new proposals on peace. Violence against Hindus continues unabated in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina accuses Yunus regime of unspeakable torture of minorities in Christmas address. President Draupadi Murmu to confer Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar on the occasion of Veer Bal Diwas in New Delhi. And in sports, India to take on Sri Lanka in the third Women's T20 International in Thiruvananthapuram, hosts 2-0 ahead in the series. Our top story, the United States carried out an airstrike against Islamic State terrorists in Nigeria on Christmas night. US President Trump in a social media post said that forces conducted deadly strikes against ISIS terrorists in northwestern Nigeria and vowed more such attacks if the terrorists keep killing Christians. Trump hailed US military for executing numerous perfect strikes. The strike comes after Trump, starting in late October, began warning that Christianity faces an existential threat in Nigeria and threatened to militarily intervene in the West African country over what he says is its failure to stop violence targeting Christian communities. The US military's Africa Command said that the strike was carried out in Sokoto state at the request of Nigerian authorities and killed multiple ISIS terrorists. US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth also praised his department's readiness to take action in Nigeria and said he was grateful for Nigerian government support and cooperation. Meanwhile, Nigeria's foreign ministry said the strikes were carried out as part of ongoing security cooperation with the United States involving intelligence sharing and strategic coordination to target ISIS. The foreign ministry said in a statement that Nigerian authorities remain engaged in structured security cooperation with international partners, including the United States of America, in addressing the persistent threat of terrorism and violent extremism. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us on the broadcast for more. Hi Akshay, first of what details do we have about the US airstrikes carried out on Christmas night?
Well, as far as the classified details that have been given by the US authorities is, is quite limited, but it clearly gives a picture that how the US is proceeding as far as the threat perception of the ISIS is concerned in the region. Because earlier it was Syria where the US conducted airstrikes against the ISIS targets. Now it's Nigeria. As far as the attempts to research by this terror group is concerned, which had become quite a centerpiece as far as the terror module and terror networks across the world are concerned. In the early in about 2013 to 2017, it remained quite a dangerous group before systematically being reduced to now more of a terror group that is working in patches across the region. But there have been attempts by ISIS to recruit more people, to have a sort of resurgence and to spread to more parts of the world, especially in Nigeria, where it is trying to recruit people from Boko Haram and other kind of terror groups that are there and sort of radicalize the youth there. But what we are seeing now that US is proactively conducting all of these airstrikes against the ISIS targets. However, the timing of this also is being questioned in the political circles inside the US itself, where there is a lot of political turmoil going on. What we are seeing is Democrats attacking the Trump administration. Over their failures on the Epstein files to other issues. And because of that, there are also questions being raised about the timing of these strikes against the terror groups that are clearly, being given a communal color as well, at certain level by the Trump administration, because the message. That has come is that they are being killed not because they are killing innocent people, because they are killing Christians. And the attack was carried out on the night of 25th of December, which is Christmas Day, a quite significant day, or perhaps one of the most important days in the Christian world. The reason for that remains unclear why this is being done, because it's not just the Christians that are being killed by terror groups like ISIS, by Boko Haram. It's the innocent people, across communities that are being killed. That remains a big question. However, the action is being taken. Now the claims are being made that the attack only killed ISIS people now, but how efficient and how effective the strikes were, that remains a question. But just adding to this, one more point here, Abhishek, that earlier what we were seeing was sort of direct threats coming in from the United States of America towards the Nigerian government, that if they do not start protecting the lives of Christians, then US will have to intervene. But now what we are seeing is that sort of an understanding that has been made between the two countries, and with the statement coming in from the foreign affairs, external affairs agencies of or rather ministries of the Nigerian government. It seems that this was a coordinated attack that was carried out, and permission were given at the very top level from the Nigerian government.
You also spoke about the timing of the strike, Akshay, and Trump has repeatedly spoken about violence against Christian communities. But how significant, Akshay, is this issue on the ground, and any idea of how is it being viewed within Nigeria's security and political establishment?
Well, we saw that earlier the Nigerian government was not coming out, fully out and open and speaking about this as a communal, giving it a communal color. Because if you look at the demography of Nigeria, it has, equally large proportion of populations from the Christian community and from the Muslim community, and it obviously wouldn't want any sort of communal, tensions to be staked between the two communities, or for the government to become a target of the terror groups that are quite active in Nigeria, by allowing the US to sort of take action against them, and neither it has the capability to wipe out these terror groups on its own. So it seems that some sort of security assurances have been given by the US government to the Nigerian government, and that is perhaps why these kind of actions are being taken. But as far as ISIS threat perception is concerned, we can't deny that it's quite true. It's quite real. In that part of the world, Boko Haram kidnapping, girl students from time to time, then ISIS now making inroads is quite terrifying for the people of Nigeria. And any kind of action against the terror groups is being seen, will be seen positively only.
Also, Akshay, before we leave you, you spoke about coordination between US forces and Nigerian security agencies in this attack, in this operation. But how unusual is a direct US military action inside Nigeria?
Well, it's quite unusual because it's not it's not West Asia, where terror groups are running amok, or rather US intervening time to time, be it Libya, Syria, Yemen, Iraq. These are the countries where the US has had history of carrying out these kind of attacks, because what the perception that has been given is that the governments there have absolute no control over the situation. They are sort of failed regimes that are running the country, so they cannot assure the security of the people. They threaten the energy supplies of the world. But Nigeria, a democratic country, quite capable when it comes to military capabilities are concerned. In such countries, the involvement of the US obviously raises question marks, because we're not talking about a small, impoverished, underdeveloped country at some corner of the world that is war torn. We are talking about a country that is perhaps one of the largest economies of the African continent, one of the largest country there, quite capable when it comes to military capabilities. So, another country coming in and taking action against terror groups instead of the Nigerian military itself, obviously raises eyebrows.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs. Shifting focus now, amid spiraling violence against minorities in Bangladesh, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, in a Christmas speech, has attacked the Yunus regime and said that the current ruling group has seized illegal power and is now subjecting minorities to unspeakable torture. Hasina reminded its citizens that Bangladesh had always been a shining example of communal harmony in recent past. She said the father of the nation dreamt of a non-communal Bangladesh, and a party, Bangladesh Awami League, has ensured the smooth living of people of all religions to realize that dream. However, citing the current political climate, she noted that the current ruling group that has seized illegal power is interfering with the freedom of people of all religions and communities to practice their own religion. Regarding the lynching of minorities, she highlighted that non-Muslims are subjected to unspeakable torture under the current regime. She added that it has also created examples of atrocities such as the burning of religious minorities. She believes that the people of Bangladesh will not allow this difficult time to continue and that the Christmas spirit will strengthen the harmony between Christians and other religions in Bangladesh. And violence against Hindus continues unabated in Bangladesh. A 30-year-old youth, Amrit Mondal, also known as Samrat, was killed by a mob on Wednesday night in Rajabari district over alleged extortion. Police rescued him in critical condition, but he died at Pangsha Upazila Health Complex around 2 a.m. Authorities arrested his associate, Mohammed Salim, and recovered firearms. Samrat was reportedly a gang leader with multiple criminal cases, including murder. The incident occurred when locals caught him attempting to extort a villager, prompting a mob attack. An investigation is ongoing. All right, DD India's Naval Sangh Parmar joins us on the phone line from Dhaka for more. Naval Sangh, what is the current situation on the ground in Bangladesh following the recent incidents of violence?
In last 1 week or in 10 days, many things happens in Bangladesh, and particularly the violence against the media as well as the minority community, and that has raised the eyebrow of the many independent observers in Bangladesh. And still now they were fearing to speak against the Yunus administration, as the administration led by Yunus has arrested many journalists. Some of them are still in jail and under the pretext of various criminal cases like Anti-Terrorist Act, and some of them also have been killed. So there was a kind of fear among the media person. But on the 18th December, there was a attack on Daily Star and Prathamalo, and then after media become more vigilant, and they become more critical to the Yunus administration, and they got support from the international community. So the independent observer or the civil society member also become emboldened, and they are now criticizing the Yunus administration for its failure. So that is the latest development, and the law and order situation was very pathetic. Still, it is not improved, but there is a kind of pressure on the Yunus administration that they forced to take resignation of. However, it is mentioned that the Mohammed Khudabaks Chaudhry, the assistant in Home Affairs Advisory of Dr. Yunus, he was very close to Dr. Yunus, and he was an earlier police chief. He resigned from his post, and the reason is the failure in the law and order situation. So it is very clear that Yunus administration is under heavy pressure. And yesterday there was a return of Tariq Rahman, BNP's acting chairman, and he got BNP got a huge response in his reception function. More than 1 million people took part in the event, and it has changed the narrative in Bangladesh now. So those who were sitting on the fence, whom to support, or whether to stay away from the electoral process in Bangladesh. But some independent sources is saying that the event in last week and the arrival of Tariq Rahman may tilt people's opinions toward the BNP we can say now the BNP is having a fair chance that if the election will happen and if Awami League is not contesting, then it will give a good benefit to the BNP.
All right. Also, Naval Sangh, Sheikh Hasina in her Christmas message has in fact accused the interim government of seizing power illegally and highlighted rising attacks on minorities. Can you tell us more about her statements and what actually do they reveal about the current political and the situation in Bangladesh?
Well, in Bangladesh, minorities subjected to atrocity, irrespective of the government, whoever was on power. In last 1.5 years, the intensity of and the frequency of attack have been increased. In previous regime also there were attack, there were a land grabbing of the minority by the ruling party leaders, and it is being said by the independent sources that during the last 20 years, maximum land grabbing attempts have been occurred and from the minority people. So this is the scenario in Bangladesh. Political parties are very much involved in the kind of atrocity on the minority. So it is the case who is in power. It is indifferent, but there are cases of violence and the atrocity against the minority. Second thing regarding the illegal grabbing of power, it is true that in Bangladesh it is a history that the change in regimes happens on the street, not by the ballot but by bullet. So in last 30 years it happens. Only one or two incidents where the electoral process was responsible to change in power, and that was the time when there was a caretaker government system. In fact, if we go to the history of Bangladesh, then in 1996, March 1996, there were an important amendment to the Bangladesh Constitution, and it was it introduced the caretaker government system in Bangladesh. After that, in June 1996, first time Sheikh Hasina became the Prime Minister during the caretaker government system. Then after BNP took the power in the next election, after that there was a brief period of army-supported caretaker government system, and then Sheikh Hasina again became Prime Minister. After she became Prime Minister in Bangladesh second time, she abolished the caretaker government system with the 115th amendment. So last two elections, 2024 and 18 election, was boycotted by the BNP, one of the largest political party in Bangladesh. So it was also not a free and fair election. And many independent sources confirm that if the major political party like second or any big political party, if you keep away from the voting, then next election will not be considered as a participatory or inclusive election. So for democratic strengthening of the democracy in Bangladesh, democratic institutions must be strengthened, and it should have been given independence as well as some more power. So they can conduct the election in free, fair, and transparent way.
Right. So the current situation, like you said, Naval Sangh, doesn't look good in Bangladesh, and elections will happen in February next year. All eyes will be on that. But Naval Sangh, will leave it at that. But please take care of yourself. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Flash floods hit Southern California amid heavy rain. 21 years on, the 2004 tsunami remains one of the deadliest disasters. We get your detailed report after the break. And Pope Leo XIV delivers his first address as pontiff from St. Peter's Square Basilica at the Vatican.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy held a phone conversation with US envoy Steve Witkoff and President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner to discuss the end to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Zelenskyy stressed that Ukraine is working around the clock to bring closer the end to the conflict and to ensure that all documents and steps are realistic, effective and reliable. He said the two sides discussed certain substantive details of the ongoing work and they have good ideas that can work towards a shared outcome and the lasting peace. He expressed the hope that the understandings and the ideas discussed between the two sides can be useful. Zelenskyy added that Rustem Umerov, head of the Ukrainian negotiating delegation and Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, held follow-up communication with Witkoff and Kushner.
There are good ideas that we discussed. There are some new ideas on how to bring the real peace closer, and it concerns formats, meetings, and certainly the timeline. Some documents are already prepared. Of course, there is still work to be done on sensitive issues, but together with the American team, we understand how to ensure this.
The latest development came after Zelenskyy has recently unveiled a 20-point draft peace plan which was agreed on by US and Ukrainian negotiators and is being reviewed by Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia is analyzing the documents on ending the ongoing Ukraine conflict. Earlier, Peskov said Dmitriev had briefed President Vladimir Putin on the outcomes of his trip to Miami.
Peace plan, we are analyzing that Dmitry conveyed to Putin. We are analyzing this material, and then depending on the decision made by the head of state, we will continue our communication with the Americans. We saw the report about Zelensky's truly strange Christmas address yesterday. It was uncivilized and embittered. He seems like an inadequate person.
Некультурно, озлобленно.
All right, shifting focus now. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered a major expansion and modernization of the country's missile production, including the construction of the new munitions factories. Kim issued the instructions during a visit to weapons facilities, calling missile and artillery production central to strengthening North Korea's war deterrent. During the visit, he asked factories to increase output to meet what was described as future operational needs. The former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro endorsed his son as a 2026 presidential pre-candidate to preserve the representation of those who place their trust in the former president. Senator Flavio Bolsonaro read a letter from his father outside a Brasilia hospital. Jair Bolsonaro was temporarily released from prison, where he is serving a 27-year sentence for planning a coup attempt to undergo medical treatment related to injuries from a 2018 stabbing attack. The announcement shook financial markets this month as investors had expected the former president to support a more experienced candidate like Sao Paulo Governor Tarcísio de Freitas. Bolsonaro was detained in late November after his conviction and is considered a flight risk, with police order to remain outside the hospital room where computers and mobile phones are prohibited. Venezuelan authorities have released at least 60 prisoners who were arrested during protests against President Nicolas Maduro's re-election in 2024. The releases were reported months after widespread demonstrations erupted following President Maduro's victory in July 2024 election, which was marred by allegations of fraud. Security forces detained roughly 2,400 people during the unrest, though nearly 2,000 have since been freed. According to the Committee for the Freedom of Political Prisoners, the latest releases began early on Christmas Day, and the conditions under which the prisoners were released has not been disclosed. Now, Malaysia's former Prime Minister Najib Razak will face judgment on Friday for his alleged involvement in Malaysia's 1MDB mega graft scandal. Najib Razak faces 4 counts of abuse of power and 21 counts of money laundering relating to the plunder of hundreds of millions of dollars from the Southeast Asian nation's One Malaysia Development Berhad Sovereign Wealth Fund, sparking probes in several countries. The former PM is already serving a 6-year jail term after a conviction in a separate case relating to the 1MDB fund and will face more years behind the bar if found guilty. Now, residents of Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, cast their ballots in municipal elections that marked a significant step towards the East African nation's first direct national polls in more than half a century. Somalia had not held direct elections since 1969, months before military general Mohammad Siad seized power in a coup. Since power's fall in 1991 and the civil war that followed, the country has relied on an indirect voting system introduced in 2004 to foster consensus among rival clans amid an Islamist insurgency. Under that arrangement, clan representatives elect lawmakers who then choose the president. The president has traditionally appointed Mogadishu's mayor. About 1,605 candidates competed for 390 seats on district councils, according to Abdi Shakur Abib Hayer of National Electoral Commission. The elected council members will now select the city's next mayor. Heavy rain triggered flash floods and mud flows across Southern California, disrupting life during the Christmas period. Torrential rain caused widespread flash flooding across Southern California, with rivers swelling and mud and debris covering roads. Authorities warn people to avoid travel and urge residents to flood-prone areas to evacuate or shelter in place. In San Bernardino County, residents were rescued by helicopter after floodwaters stranded them on rooftops. The U.S. National Weather Service said storm was expected to continue, creating dangerous conditions. And it's been 21 years since the 2004 tsunami struck, when the world awoke to one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. India was one of the many nations affected in the Indian Ocean region. Dear India's Tapas Bhattacharya brings you an in-depth look at the nation's readiness to tackle future tsunamis.
2 decades ago, on December 26, 2004, a powerful 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck near Indonesia, causing a deadly tsunami. It affected India's coastal areas. The massive waves claimed around 228,000 lives and caused nearly $10 billion in damage. With no warning systems in place, most victims had no time to escape. India's public broadcaster Doordarshan was quick to respond during the 2004 tsunami. As information dissemination was crucial, they played a vital role in covering rescue efforts directly from the disaster zone.
This place has become a graveyard. The silence of death is all around, and even the sound of the sea cannot drown the silence.
In response to this tragedy, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System was created to monitor seismological changes and issue alerts for impending waves. It receives real-time data from national and international networks, detecting earthquakes of magnitude 6 or greater within just minutes. Key sensors in the deep ocean confirm the triggering of a tsunami.
After this tragic event, which took about 230,000 lives and then impacted so many countries within the region, so the UN gave the mandate, provided the mandate to UNESCO's IOC to establish a end-to-end tsunami early warning and mitigation system in the Indian Ocean region. So that was when the ICG, it's called the Intergovernmental Coordination Group for the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System, that was established to actually coordinate with all the countries in the region, all the stakeholders within the region and outside the region to work together.
The Early Warning Center sends advisories to the Ministry of Home Affairs and State Emergency Operations Centers through satellite, phone, fax, SMS and email. Today, Thanks to these robust early warning systems, India and other Indian Ocean countries are much better prepared to handle such disasters.
From a nation caught off guard in 2004 to a global leader in tsunami preparedness today, India has come a long way. The establishment of the National Disaster Management Authority symbolizes India's commitment to safeguarding its people against future calamities. With camera person Piyush, this is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off for GD India from Hyderabad.
On the occasion of Christmas Day, Pope Leo XIV delivered his first address as pontiff from St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican. Speaking before 26,000 in St. Peter's Square, the Pope called for peace, solidarity and compassion for victims of war. He urged Russia and Ukraine to pursue dialogue and expressed hopes for peace in Gaza. Marking his first Urbi et Orbi blessing and homily, Pope Leo XIV presided over Christmas Eve Mass, reminding the faithful that in the child Jesus, God offers humanity new life. Time now for another short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. President Draupadi Murmu will confer the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar on the occasion of Veer Bal Diwas in New Delhi on Friday. This year, 20 children from 18 states and union territories have been selected for this honour, who have demonstrated outstanding achievements in diverse fields, including bravery, sports and social service. Prime Minister Modi will also address the children and youth at a national level program of Veer Bal Diwas. The program, organized in New Delhi, will highlight stories of bravery, resilience and selfless service. The program will also witness cultural performances showcasing the country's rich civilizational heritage and the spirit of bravery. Awardees of the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar will also be present during the program. Veer Bal Diwas is being observed today to honour the martyrdom of Baba Fateh Singh and Baba Zorawar Singh, the Sahibzade of 10th Sikh Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji. In January 2022, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that December 26th would be observed as Veer Bal Diwas, making it India's first national day dedicated to honouring the courage and sacrifices of children.
Veer Bal Diwas stands as a powerful reminder of courage, faith and supreme sacrifice. Observed every year on the 26th of December, the day commemorates the martyrdom of Sahibzada Zorawar Singh and Sahibzada Fateh Singh, the younger sons of the 10th Sikh Guru, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. The roots of Veer Bal Diwas traces back to December 1705, a tragic chapter in Indian history. During the Mughal reign, the two young Sahibzadas, just 9 and 6 years old, were captured by the Mughal governor of Sirhind Wazir Khan. They were subjected to immense pressure and offered wealth and safety to abandon their faith. Yet, with extraordinary resolve beyond their age, they refused to compromise their beliefs. Their unwavering stand led to their brutal martyrdom as they were pricked alive, choosing faith and truth over fear. Recognizing this unparalleled bravery, in January 2022, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on the occasion of Prakash Purab of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, announced that 26th of December will be observed as Veer Bal Diwas, and now it is India's first national day dedicated to honoring the sacrifices of these children. Veer Bal Diwas is not just a day of remembrance, it is a source of inspiration. It urges the nation, especially the youth, to uphold values of courage, integrity, resilience, and moral strength. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
A new book by senior civil servant Shashi Ranjan Kumar was recently published to help readers learn about and understand India's civilization and history from an Indian perspective. Titled The Decline of the Hindu Civilization, the book provides a detailed account of the achievements of ancient Indian civilization.
There is a lot of confusion about achievements of our past. Some people tend to exaggerate it, some people tend to undermine it. My attempt has been to accurately portray our achievements in various fields. And especially I have chosen fields such as astronomy, mathematics, medicine, aesthetics, statecraft, etc. Also, I have attempted to show that Hindu civilization, and I use the word Hindu in the broadest sense, which includes all Indic traditions like Jainism, Buddhism, etc. How the civilization spread through half of the then known world. We all know it, China, Japan, Southeast Asia, without having to send a single soldier. And then, in later part of my book, I go into its decline and the reason for its decline.
President Draupadi Murmu on Thursday released the book of the Indian Constitution translated into the Santhali language at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. Santhali language, which was included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution through the 92nd Amendment Act 2003, is one of the most ancient living languages of India. It is spoken by a significant number of tribal people in Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal and Bihar. President Murmu said that the language is not merely a medium of communication but a living expression of our rich tribal culture, traditions, history and identity. India has been selected to chair the UN-backed Kimberley Process from January 1st, 2026, marking the third time it will lead the global diamond certification body. India's selection as chair of the Kimberley Process reinforces its standing among diamond-producing nations, trading centres, industry bodies and civil society, and reflects its growing role in international trade governance. Announcing the development on X, Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said India's leadership will focus on building consumer confidence in conflict-free diamonds and strengthening transparency and accountability across the diamond supply chain. The Railways has rationalized its passenger fare structure with effect from Friday with the objective of balancing affordability for passengers and sustainability of operations. Under the revised fare structure, there is no change in fares for suburban services and season tickets, including both suburban and non-suburban routes. The revised rates are applicable only on tickets booked on or after December 26. Tickets booked before will not attract any additional charges even if the journey is undertaken after the effective date. Now, Prayagraj's 2025 Maha Kumbh marked a milestone year for the holy city, drawing over 65 crore devotees from India and abroad. The mega event boosted global spiritual tourism, upgraded infrastructure and restored heritage sites. Locals say new livelihoods and a renewed global identity continue to benefit the city long after the fair ended.
2025 was momentous for the holy city of Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh as it hosted the grand Hindu religious fair, the Maha Kumbh, at the beginning of the year. The event, which drew an estimated over 65 crore devotees from across India and around the world, firmly placed the city on the global map of spiritual tourism.
प्रयागराज की तो अपनी पहचान है ही है, सदियों से, नई युगों से ही है, क्योंकि बहुत प्राचीन नगरी है ये और संगम है, गंगा यमुना सरस्वती 12 माधव है ना, और लेटे हनुमान जी, माता आलोप शंकरी शक्तिपीठ भी यहाँ है। तो लेकिन जो पिछले वाला 2025 का जो कुंभ पर्व है वो अपने आप में एक अद्वितीय रहा। आज तक इतनी श्रद्धालु शायद ही कभी आए हों, है ना। अब हमारे संज्ञान में तो नहीं है कि इतने श्रद्धालु कभी आए होंगे।
Many believe the city's transformation was aided by the development of infrastructure that matched global standards.
देखिए, अगर 2025 कुंभ की उपयोगिता देखा जाए तो सबसे पहले तो प्रयागराज के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर दिया है और इतना ज़्यादा बजट दे दिया कि प्रयागराज का बहुत सारा विकास हुआ है, सड़कें हुई हैं, कॉरिडोर बने हैं। एक तो ये हुआ। दूसरा, प्रयागराज पर्यटन के नक्शे पर बहुत सशक्त हुआ है कि लोगों ने इसको वैश्विक स्तर पर, प्रयागराज के इस महाकुंभ को वैश्विक स्तर पर बहुत प्रचारित और प्रसारित किया। पूरी दुनिया से लोग आए, पूरी दुनिया जैसे उमड़ पड़ी थी।
For some locals, it was not just the infrastructure development, but also the focus on renovating the city's heritage that has since been a major draw for visitors.
पिछले वर्ष अगर देखा जाए तो जिस समय महाकुंभ का आयोजन हुआ उसके बाद इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर इस शहर को एक विशेष पहचान मिली है और काशी और अयोध्या के साथ प्रयागराज खड़ा हो गया है। पर्यटन के क्षेत्र में बहुत विस्तार हुआ है। 12 जो मंदिर हैं उनका कायाकल्प किया गया है। जो यहाँ पर परिक्रमा पहले चलती थी, पंचकोशी परिक्रमा, उसके लिए नए सिरे से प्रयास किया गया है। मंदिरों का एक कॉरिडोर बना दिया गया है।
Hosting the Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj also created new livelihood opportunities. Many tourism-driven small businesses found space as crores of devotees visited the city for the religious fair.
इस तरह से आर्थिक पक्ष की अगर बात करें तो तमाम रोजगार उस समय सृजित हुए नए, जो कि आज भी चल रहे हैं। कई सारे अगर आप नोटिस करेंगे बनारस या फिर बनारस से इलाहाबाद रूट पे, तो लगभग कई सौ नए रेस्टोरेंट्स, होटल्स, ये सब ओपन हुए, खुले, जो कि लगभग कमोबेश युवा ही खोलते हैं और ओपन किए, चला रहे हैं, आज भी चला रहे हैं।
Long after the 2025 Maha Kumbh concluded, many local residents say Prayagraj continues to benefit from its lasting impact. They firmly believe improved infrastructure, stronger local livelihoods, and a renewed global identity have firmly positioned the city as a leading spiritual destination.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news. A balloon seller was killed and 4 others were critically injured when a balloon gas cylinder exploded near the entrance of the Karnataka Exhibition Authority on Thursday. City Police Commissioner said the victim, believed to be around 40 years old, died on the spot. The incident occurred when a large number of people had gathered at the exhibition during the Christmas vacation. Students from Surat University have developed an initiative to recycle cigarette stubs into everyday use products. The eco-friendly project has received state government funding under the Student Startup and Innovation Policy and has grown into a larger student-led movement promoting environmental protection. In an inspiring green initiative from Surat, university students are turning cigarette waste into useful products. Srinagar's Dal Lake came alive with festive cheer as tourists soaked in the Christmas Keva Fest blending local culture with holiday spirit. Tourists enjoyed Kashmiri traditions at one-day Christmas Kehwa Fest on Thursday, organized by the Tourist Department. The event highlighted Kehwa tea and local hospitality, adding a unique cultural flavor to Dal Lake tourism. Visakhapatnam's provisions of the Panchayat's extension to scheduled areas Mahotsav celebrated tribal culture and Panchayati rights, bringing communities together through art, heritage and empowerment. The two-day Paisa Mahotsav, which began on Tuesday, showcased tribal skills and culture. Stalls displayed indigenous products. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Golfer Jeev Milkha Singh ends 13-year wait at IGPL Invitational Sri Lanka triumph. Chelsea take on in-form Aston Villa in a crucial Premier League clash this Saturday.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. The Japanese government has approved a record national budget of 122.3 trillion yen for the next fiscal year beginning April 2026. The massive spending plan will fund higher defense outlays and rising social security costs as Japan continues to grapple with persistent inflation. The move has also raised market concerns that Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's expansionary spending agenda could further add to the country's already heavy public debt burden. This year, India's central bank took bold steps to boost economic growth, cutting the repo rate by a total of 1.25% in 2025. Despite global uncertainties, the Indian economy showed strong growth while inflation remained low, giving the Reserve Bank room to ease borrowing cost. Let's take a look at a report showcasing how these rate cuts have affected households, businesses and the overall economy.
The year 2025 was marked by a significant monetary policy easing as the Reserve Bank of India reduced the repo rate by a cumulative 125 basis points, equivalent to 1.25%. These measures were undertaken in response to strong economic performance and persistently low inflation. In spite of the global economic challenges, India demonstrated resilience, registering growth rates of 7.8% and 8.2% in the first and second quarters of the current financial year, respectively. Retail inflation remained below the RBI's lower tolerance limit of 2%, thereby enabling the central bank to reduce interest rates to support borrowing and stimulate domestic demand. The repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow from the Reserve Bank of India. A cut in the repo rate typically translates into lower lending rates for consumers, reducing the overall cost of borrowing.
Despite an unfavorable and challenging external environment, the Indian economy has shown remarkable resilience. It is poised to register high growth. The headroom provided by the inflation outlook has allowed us to remain growth supportive. We will continue to meet the productive requirements of the economy in a proactive manner while ensuring macroeconomic stability.
Since the inflation has been lesser, they've utilized the opportunity. They've utilized this particular situation very well to reduce rates of interest because that has generated a lot of demand and boosted GDP growth.
The rate easing cycle began in February with a 25 basis point cut, bringing the repo rate down to 6.25%, followed by another 25 basis point reduction in April. The biggest relief came in June when the RBI delivered a surprise 50 basis point cut, taking the repo rate to 5.50%. The year ended on a positive note with a final 25 basis point cut in December, which brought the repo rate down to 5.25%. In turn, the banks passed on the benefits to consumers, thereby improving household purchasing power.
Because of lesser rates of interest, consumers in India have been buying cars, two-wheelers, flats, mobiles, appliances, which has increased tax collection, income tax collection, GST collection. It has increased employment opportunities. Income tax collection has been 8% higher. GST collection for November 2025 has been higher than that of last year. So overall, I think it has been an intelligent decision to reduce repo by 1.25% in different stages in 2025. For 2026 also, I expect the repo to be reduced because inflation is expected to be lesser. But the quantum I don't expect to be equivalent to 2025.
Lower interest rates reduced borrowing costs for both consumers and companies. While households benefited from cheaper loans, businesses saw a decline in the cost of capital, which supported investment and overall economic activity. The 2025 rate cut cycle marked the first easing in nearly 5 years. The previous reduction was announced on May 22, 2020, when the RBI cut the repo rate by 40 basis points to 4% during the COVID-19 pandemic. As the year draws to a close, economists note that the RBI's calibrated rate cuts helped strike a balance between robust economic growth and price stability, even as global risks continued to pose challenges for the Indian economy.
All right, sports updates now. Will start with cricket. Our dominant India will look to seal the 5-match series with another ruthless display when it take on a low on confidence Sri Lanka in the third Women's T20 International in Thiruvananthapuram on Friday. India were outstanding with both bat and ball in the first and second T20Is, registering comprehensive 8-wicket and 7-wicket wins respectively to underline its overall dominance over Sri Lanka. It was India's 9th win in its last 11 T20Is against Sri Lanka, which last tasted victory against the host in July 2024 at Dambulla. In a remarkable comeback, India's golfing legend Jeev Milkha Singh ended a 13-year title drought by clinching victory at the IGPL Invitational Sri Lanka. Jeev Milkha Singh provided the inaugural edition of the IGPL a dream finish as he beat a host of young and experienced stars. The IGPL win marked Jeev's first professional victory since the 2012 Scottish Open. As Jeev won his maiden IGPL title, Pukhrat Singh Gill won the IGPL Order of Merit by a razor-thin margin over Aman Raj and Gaganjeet Bhullar. Golf to football now. Out of touch, Chelsea are set to face a tough challenge in their Premier League campaign as they will face in-form Aston Villa in a crucial game on Saturday. Villa have been in top form, having won their last 7 games to sit just 3 points behind Arsenal. They have beaten United and Arsenal at home already this season, but lost to Liverpool. Meanwhile, Chelsea have struggled for consistency this season and are 10 points adrift of table leaders Arsenal. The Blues are currently 4th in the standings but could slip out of that position without a victory in this clash. Fortunately for Chelsea, midfielder Cole Palmer is finally ready to play a full match after months of injury struggles. And Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim has revealed that midfielders Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo will miss Friday's Premier League against Newcastle United. Fernandes was forced off at halftime during United's EPL game against Aston Villa with a soft tissue injury. Meanwhile, Kobbie Mainoo is set to miss the game due to a calf injury. Coach Amorim declined to discuss the extent of the injury but acknowledged the void it creates. And Santa Claus has officially completed his worldwide gift-giving journey. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD which tracks Santa as he circles the globe, reports that this year's festive trek to deliver presents to children has now come to an end. Let's take a look. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.